One Media and a Preston Media Z. Today we're here to discuss something very serious, mental health. And as students, sometimes it's very hard to manage these challenges. But Preston Media is here for you with an interesting special mental health day special with Shark Speak. My name is Dante Officer Clark. This is Preston Media. Take a look.
Say cheese.
My name is Janicia Jones. I'm a mental health advocate and I am studying a Bachelor of Arts degree in Integrated Marketing Communication at CARMAC.
My name is Tiffany Campbell. I am the co-founder and vice president of a mental health awareness association, and I study electronics engineering.
Hi guys, I am Rajni Commander Molar. I'm studying MBBS, Bachelor of Medical, Bachelor of Surgery, and I'm a final year medical student.
And my name is Shania Stewart, your second host for today. I'm a first year IMC major at CARMAC.
Now, the purpose of this podcast or this panel today is to just bring about awareness to mental health, raise a few questions that might be browsing out there in the internet. And we're going to kick off our first question, Shania.
Okay, so our first question for today: what are some mental health issues that you all see common within the college university community?
The first one being depression.
I think a lot of students struggle with anxiety, especially around like exam times or just on a day-to-day basis.
You speak about anxiety, right? What do you think about university space that brings out that anxiety?
So I think they're under a lot of pressure for like deadlines, to meet up certain expectations, especially probably from their parents or even from their peers. They're afraid of what's happening, what might be happening in the future.
Studies shows that persons that directly spend majority of their time online using, TikTok devices and stuff like
Right.
that basically adds to depression because it's like their life is surrounded by social media. So like going outside, doing outdoor activities, taking a time away from the phone itself or electronic devices actually get rid of certain chemicals. They have the stress hormone known as cortisol.
Right.
So it basically helps to reduce cortisol when you do outdoor activities.
Yeah, like endorphins. I remember reading something once that the more you do endorphin inducing activities, it helps to combat depression. And in a lot of people nowadays, I notice a lot of folks don't exercise, they don't go, they're not active, and they don't do stuff, as he said, away from a computer or a phone screen. So when you're in one space for so long, it gets boring and overwhelming, and a lot of people don't know how to combat that. So I think that also causes depression spikes as well.
And to add to his point about social media, when you're on social media, you see people putting forward a certain lifestyle.
Yeah.
True.
So you're seeing these things, persons your age, persons younger than you have achieved so much, and you're here. So you're starting to compare, and you're not leaving the phone, you're not stepping outside, the sun is not hitting you. So you're there and you're just in your room. Sometimes days go by, you don't leave your room, you don't shower. Some people, their self-care goes down the drain, and it is just really a struggle.
You mentioned self-care. Besides self-care, what are some of the other signs that I can use to recognize mental health issues within my peers, friends, and even my social groups?
A lot of people, they usually lose their appetite, and then certain stuff that you would see them love doing, like their hobbies, they're not as interested in doing them anymore. And it depends on the person, but some people sleep less or some people sleep more. Yeah.
I had a friend that was going through something, and in reality, I thought that she was just tired, but in actuality, she was having some depression episodes, and to get away from it, she actually slept more. So that's indeed a natural fact.
I love how you mentioned that signs of depression vary based on the person, because I've realized that in general society, people just feel as though in order to be depressed, like textbook depressed, you have to be, very dreary, and you have to be completely uninterested in stuff. You have people out here being so happy-go-lucky, and they smile and they laugh in your face every day, and they're hurting inside, and you don't know because they don't show it. So depression can really take a lot of different forms, and I just hope that based on this, everyone just knows that you don't have to be completely sad. Okay, so having spoken about some of the signs that are prevalent when somebody is going through stuff like anxiety and depression, how, if I have a friend and I see some of these signs in them and I don't necessarily know how to approach them or to offer my help and advice, how would you, Tiffany, say I go about doing that the best way?
Well, the first thing is that when you're approaching anyone that has any form of mental health problems, is that to not take anything that they do personally. Because I have a friend where most times she distances herself when she's going through her episodes, but she just wouldn't say anything, and it would kind of, it would feel like a way. But I just understand that that's just something that she has to go through by herself. So that's the first thing, you have to understand that. And then next, it's really hard to say because once again everything differs by person. So the most that you can really do is just be there for them. But for me, what I always do is just always ask, do you need a distraction or do you want some advice? And then from there, that's where I go on.
I think that's solid advice as well, because sometimes people are aware that they're going through stuff, but they don't really need somebody telling them, hey, I think you're going through. Sometimes people just need somebody to listen. So advice is not always welcome. Like, they might need the advice and they want the advice, but they don't know how to take the advice. So that was a very good point.
And I love that point. You know, us coming from high school, we know that in high school we had our peer counselors or guidance counselors that we could speak to. They could just listen and we could ramble on and on and on. And if we'd like to take the advice, we'd take them. However, coming to the university space, what on campus, what type of resources are available to us on campus?
Well, on campus they have a hotline that's 24 hours, can text or call them 30 times. It's called UE Helps.
Right.
So those persons are actually, the conversation is kept anonymous, so they won't really know they don't care who you, well, not say they don't care who you are, they don't care about your name or anything like that.
Right.
But the conversation, they'll literally be there just to listen if you want to talk or anything like that. I have friends that actually use it. I tested it out myself and it actually works. Persons here on campus are members of it. And you don't have to be worried saying how you share your story with a random person, but how it's set up, as I mentioned, it's kept confidential.
Right.
They're really professional with it. And also I believe that the different halls supposed to have some form of family or some sort of comfort zone itself, where you can reach out to certain persons. You have your little friends that can come to your room and check up on you or anything like that.
Sometimes we might run a boat and them things. Repeat the hotline again.
So it's called UE Helps.
Alright, you were going to say?
Another program that's here on campus is that you have the counseling unit at the UA Health Center, and I believe they offer 24 sessions for the school year. That's quite a bit to use, honestly.
Right.
And it is free, and there are multiple different counselors who are there to speak to you, whether it's about your academics or it's about other social issues. I've personally used it. I tell you, very, very helpful, honestly. So that's another resource that persons can look into.
And now being aware that resource is available, how do students go about registering for that counseling service?
So all you need to do is go by the UA Health Center itself with your health card. The counseling unit, you turn left at the nurses station and you go all the way to the back, then you turn right again. The big sign is there. Once you're at the counseling unit, they're going to ask you to sign up and to essentially give them an overview of what's happening. So if it is that you feel very stressed or depressed or anxious, you have suicidal ideation, etc., you can note that in the questions and stuff that they have. Once you give them back the form, they're going to go ahead and ask you when would be a good time for it. They're going to give you time, sessions, etc. that you can choose. And if you'd like to have a male counselor, a female counselor, if after your first session you want to change your counselor, you can do that as well.
Okay, that's amazing. So everybody, counseling is available and there is a hotline called UA Helps. Now, another thing, of course we're in the college university space. Is there or are there any pieces of advice that you would give to those of us who may be struggling to balance keeping a decent mental space with academics and home life and other social responsibilities?
I know they always tell us time management, but sometimes it's really hard.
It's so hard.
And as somebody who has dealt with depression over the years and who has struggled really terribly, find one reason to survive. Just one. My current reason for living, I'm just gonna tell y'all, is because I want to see waterfalls. It sounds crazy, but that's literally the thing that took me out of severe depression about a year or so ago. I decided I wanted to see a waterfall in as many countries around the world. And so I'm here, alive, today, right? So
Motivational
find
factor.
one single thing. And there was also this quote that I read a couple of years ago that said, everybody has a little bit of I want to save the world in them. It's okay if you only save one person, and it's okay if that person is just you. So there is also that limit to the amount of pressure that you feel like you're under. So you say, okay, I have my academics, I want to have a social life, I have a one friend. Remember that one friend. Sometimes we seem to neglect our one friend. But if it's even to say, all right, I'm going to set a reminder to call this person and talk to them 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, to kind of get your mind off stuff. Look at all the things that are around campus that you can use for free, that you can participate in. You're going to feel like you don't want to do it, but I'm going to tell you, you're going to feel like you don't want to do it. But try and set a reminder and just do it one time. Even if it's one thing for the week, you try to do it one time. When you do that thing one time, you know, say every week, I go outside and I go talk to Rajni. I'm going to tell Rajni, say, listen, you have to give me like a food and we will make it through the day, and that keeps you for the week. It's extremely important. And I think that will help you to figure out everything else, because you'll have one thing to just take your mind off all the other pressures, and you say, okay, we can kind of balance school now. I can kind of balance other things now.
Okay. As Genesia speaks about finding that one thing to keep you motivated, I find that having an outlet, it doesn't necessarily have to be a creative outlet, but just finding an outlet of release is so cathartic. Like, you're doing that and it takes your mind off it, and you're able to kind of express how you're feeling, because we know as much as we have people there for us and, you know, we can go talk to them and vent to them, not all the time you're going to want to express how you're feeling to people. So what I do, I hear a lot of people speak about journaling. No, journaling doesn't necessarily have to just be writing. You can have video diaries, audio journals, because me personally, when I need to vent and I know that I don't really have someone there available at the time, I open my voice notes app and I just go and I talk. Or I go on my spam and I just rant. I mean, just, it might sound corny, but trust me, just talking at something, if it's even to just talk at a wall or something, just getting everything out of you is all you need to do sometimes. Sometimes you don't really need anybody else there. It just needs to be you and you. And sometimes that's enough.
And that's a lovely point. Another thing I'd like to touch on it with anxiety, the fact that most times we feel anxious is right around exam time or right before a project is due. They mentioned time management, but another important factor is procrastination. Right? If you know you love to procrastinate, there's this new idea. Well, it's not new. It's been around for about a decade now. It's called the second brain. What does that entail? Basically, you have an app on your phone. So, for example, she used the voice memo. I might use TickTick or my notes app on my iPhone, where you just write down things that you need to get done, and before you go to bed, you might just check off a few, and that in of itself, it helps to release, I don't remember the chemical, but you release a chemical in your brain that makes you feel good, right? And that in return relieves some dopamine, correct? And that relieves some of the anxiety and the pressures on your shoulders.
That's true. For persons who like writing, like myself, I have a book, and so I write stuff. I'm like, okay, just 3 things to do for the week. You have your top 3 things to do for the week, and when you accomplish that, no nice people take it off. And sometimes as well, you can give yourself treats. So you can say, once I complete this, I'll give myself this thing. I used to do it with KFC, but KFC is now very expensive, so you have to choose something within your budget, and you go from there.
So that's positive reinforcement. It's a tactic I see being used a lot in the like primary and early childhood, secondary spaces. and within the parental spaces as well, where you say, okay, this is what you need to do, or this is what you have to get done, and when you complete the task, you're rewarded for it. So applying positive reinforcement to yourself, it kind of keeps you going. Because as she said, okay, if I get this and this task done, then may get a famous bowl of KFC. And if you want the famous bowl, well, not necessarily saying if you want it enough, but you knowing that there is something at the end of you completing these for you is motivation. Yeah.
Alright guys, thank you for watching Shark Speak. Thank you for our lovely viewers for coming out and watching this lovely episode of Shark Speak. This has been our lovely guest. My name is Officer.
My name is Shania.
Thanks for watching and look out for the next episode because it will be another one.